Hi, it's Michael. Your human experience had begun even before the fetus in the womb and even before the conception. The sperm and the egg also have their individual consciousness that can and does develop its own psychological traits, and in addition they can also carry some of those psychological traits from the parent, from the father and from the mother. And as the consciousness evolves, progresses from the sperm, the egg, to the fetus, from the fetus to the person, and so on, the ego evolves, and with it all the emotional, psychological traits. As a consequence, some, if not many, of the psychological issues that you are experiencing now can be traced to way before, as just has been mentioned. And it's good to be aware of it. And if you want to evolve, if you want to mature, it's extremely beneficial to take an internal inventory of your emotional and psychological traits and address them. They need to be transcended if you want to move on with your life in a positive, healthy, joyful direction. If they are, or when they are not addressed, when they are not transcended and they are just left to run on and on and on, then, as we are told, we are bound to come back to this planet, to Earth, to live another life and another life and another life, and it can go on and on and on until the issues get resolved. So what has been mentioned is that the tool in transcending and dissolving these psychological, emotional issues is the spiritual will. As Dr. David Hawkins said, for example, the spiritual will is immensely powerful, and it can help transcend all the obstacles, but it has to be invoked. It has to be invoked. How to invoke the spiritual will? First, we have to live our life integrally, which means we have to align with truth, which means we need to choose truth over falsity. We need to live our life as much as possible honestly, sincerely, be as forgiving, as understanding, as accommodating, as compassionate, as patient as we can be under the given circumstances. Nobody asks for a miracle that we feel down and all of a sudden we go, oh, we are perfect. Now, obviously, in real life it doesn't work like that. As much as we can under the given circumstances, no excuses. So here is an important pointer that Dr. David Hawkins had taught. People who don't live their life integrally, which means they lie, they cheat, they steal, they take advantage of their fellow men, and they live in anger, fear, hate, disdain, and so on. they do not have access to the spiritual will, and they are bound by their ego, and thus they live at an animal level. They live like human animals, not like human spirits. When people choose kindness, understanding, truth, honesty, helping the fellow man, they align with truth and they get access to the spiritual will. Again, the spiritual will needs to be invoked. Perhaps it doesn't need to be verbal. Our doing, our intending may be enough to invoke the spiritual will. With the spiritual will come also the helpings of from positive spiritual beings like angels and higher levels of divinity and so on. So as you're taking the inventory of your psychological, emotional issues, perhaps you feel claustrophobic, perhaps you feel afraid of darkness, perhaps you feel fear of dogs, perhaps you feel fear of water, perhaps you get angry during certain circumstances, perhaps you get offended easily. Whatever it may be, when you take the inventory honestly, be honest with you and don't judge it, don't make excuses, don't judge it, just write it down scientifically, just write it down or make a mental note. And to transcend it, so you invoke the spiritual will, you may, for example, say, in addition to your integrous, positive, truthful doing, you may say, I am very grateful for the spiritual will or for the spirit in helping I transcend all the obstacles. So when you notice that the emotional challenge is arising, for example, you feel claustrophobic in certain circumstances, so you can even purposely head to a place that would invoke that claustrophobic feeling and be aware. Don't fall for the feeling, don't identify with it. As you feel the feeling coming over you, don't judge it, don't resist it, watch it, observe it, just observe it scientifically, and breathe deeply, and just observe it. In that observation, in that awareness, in that centering, the spiritual will can very powerfully help you. And you will eventually find out that the emotion, the issue will peak, and then it will subside, and then eventually it will disappear completely. It may take time, it may not be immediate, but eventually it will disappear. Now there is even a faster way how to help transcend these issues, and that is with neuro-emotional technique, about which I talk in many of my talks on this YouTube channel. Neuro-emotional technique, NET, which is specifically designed to help detect these subconscious, hidden and even not so hidden issues and help to bring them to the surface, to the light, and release them. And that, coupled with chiropractic, helps to free your nervous system, so you have more life energy to handle these issues, and thus the spiritual will can help you even more powerfully the next time, so to speak. So that's it for this talk. If there are any questions or comments, they can be left below the video. Wishing you a healthy and joyful life. Michael out.